A community college in Texas has decided to reject applicants from Nigeria over fear that Ebola will spread in the area. Now, this is Navarro College near the Dallas area. It's about 56 miles away from Dallas. And they're very much concerned that if they allow people from Nigeria to come into their institution, that they're going to infect people with Ebola and everyone's going to die.
Now, Ebola is mainly in 3 West African countries, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and one other. It's not Nigeria, is it?
It's not. Okay, so just to give you guys the facts on Ebola in Nigeria, there were 19 confirmed cases of Ebola in Nigeria. However, Nigeria was so successful in containing the virus that in this month, there have been no new cases of Ebola.
Well, wait a minute. In Texas, it hasn't been contained. So
interesting.
If they're banning people from countries where Ebola exists and has not been contained, they actually would allow people from Nigeria, but not from the United States.
Are you saying that there might be a certain level of ignorance that this community college is using in making these decisions?
Well, let's find out. What did they say?
All right. So they apparently sent the following rejection letters. With sincere regret, I must report that Navarro College is not able to offer you acceptance for the spring 2015 term. Unfortunately, Navarro College is not accepting international students with countries with confirmed Ebola cases. Okay, that is the first paragraph of the rejection letter. So of course, the guy who got rejected decided to tweet out the rejection letter. And now Navarro College is like, no, there's miscommunication.
Oh, of course,
miscommunication.
Right, of course.
So here's what they said in response to the tremendous amount of criticism they've received. Our college values its diverse population of international students.
Of course.
This fall, we have almost 100 students from Africa. Unfortunately, some students received incorrect information regarding their applications to the institution. As part of our new honors program, the college restructured the international department to include focused recruitment from certain countries each year. Our focus for the 2014-2015 is on China and Indonesia. Other countries will be identified and recruitment efforts put in place once we launch our new honors program fall of 2015. We apologize for any misinformation that may have been shared with students.
Oh, what a wild coincidence. You see, the reason they have 100 African students is because they used to take students from Africa, right? Great, right? This year, they, in a tremendous coincidence, decided to focus away from Africa and to China and Indonesia. So when the Nigerian students applied, they literally wrote them a letter saying, you got Ebola cases and we're not taking it from your country. But they meant to say we're refocusing on China and Indonesia.
That's what they meant to say. They didn't mention China or Indonesia in the rejection letter, but that's what they meant. I think the part of the story that's the most frustrating is just the ignorance behind it, right? I don't think that anyone did it because they want to be hateful toward African students. I think it's the fear-mongering that's played a role. I think it is misinformation that these college officials believe in. And it's unfortunate because it makes us look like clowns, okay? West Africa is a huge part of Africa with lots and lots of people, right? To do something like this against anyone who lives in the area is so ridiculous.
So, I mean, imagine if the other colleges in the country started saying, I'm sorry, we're not accepting students from Texas anymore because there's confirmed Ebola cases and it continues to spread. So you'll be excluded from now on. Look, the reason why a lot of these colleges accept international students is the money, Lebowski, okay? Because they pay full tuition, whereas the locals oftentimes get discounts on that.
Financial aid.
Right, and it's part of the point of a community college, right? So that's why they're desperate for international students. Now, you can call it ignorance. In this case, I think it's a little fair to call it racism, but they got so panicked that they were like, forget Sierra Leone, Liberia, wherever it's coming from, I'm banning all the Africans. Right.
Look, to be fair to them, I'm not ready to call this racism just because there were confirmed cases in Nigeria, but they didn't do their research. They didn't see that it's been completely contained in Nigeria. That's been the only country that's been successful. I mean, think about it. Think about the resources we have in the United States, and we have failed to contain it, but in Nigeria, they were successful.
Nigeria has 170 million people, roughly, right? They only had 19 cases, and there are no new cases, whereas there are new cases in Spain and America and these other countries. You think they're going to write that to a Spanish student? They're not going to write it to a Spanish student from Spain. They're going to write it to African students. I think you're being a little overly generous in saying that race has no part in it.
I don't know. So Nigeria realized, all right, we need to be on high alert because Ebola is a big problem. It's spreading, and we're not going to play with that, right? So there was one man who flew into Nigeria against the wishes of the hospital that he was being treated at. So the hospital that he was at had told him, like, no, you can't travel. We think you might have Ebola. And he's like, no, dude, I'm leaving, right? So he goes into Nigeria, and he has contact, some form of contact, with up to 900 people, right?
Jesus,
so
this guy gets around.
So not directly, but of course, it's just like any other disease. I talk to you, I might have a disease, and then you might go spread it to your family, and then your family members. That's how it works. So officials in Nigeria were like, we need to figure out every single person that had any type of contact with this guy or someone that he's talked to. So there are about 900 people. They start screening them very aggressively, okay? And they are watching them like hawks. And they do something known as a tracing process, right? So they had these people constantly call in and update them on their health situation. How are you doing? How are you feeling? If they didn't call in or if they didn't report how they were feeling, the officials would go visit them. They did 18,500 visits, okay?
Wow.
And to the point where they contained the virus, only 19 people were diagnosed with it. And in this month, there have been no new cases. So Nigeria was on it.
Maybe we should hire the head of the Nigerian health department for the head of our CDC.
Mm-hmm. And one other thing that they did, which is obvious, but I'll state it anyway, they went into any type of facility, any type of place that these people were in, and they completely sanitized it, disinfected it, whatever you want to call it.
Right, so they did a great job with that. And in order to help them do a better job with that, you need to send them money right now. Oh wait, I'm thinking of a different thing about Nigeria.
You're the worst. You're the worst.